Hey class. Hope everybody had a good holiday, good New Year. Glad to be back. It was good to have a break, but glad to get going again. But jumping right into this week's discussion question. Um, to start, super happy that we're reading Romans. Romans is one of my favorite books. I love just the realness in it. And honestly, this question, the righteousness of God, how much Roman talks about this. But it was interesting reading about the different interpretations that there are in that we've created over the year. And reading after reading, I'm looking over the question, kind of meditating on this a little bit. I really like Martin Luther's um, kind of interpretation of this phrase. I'll read it real quick. For God does not want to save us by our own righteousness, but by an extenuous righteousness, which does not originate in ourselves, but comes to us from beyond ourselves, which does not arise on our earth, but comes from the heaven. Therefore, we must come to know this righteousness, which is utterly external and foreign to us. This is my favorite part right here. This is why our personal righteousness must be uprooted. Um, I think really this version really resonated with me for that last sentence right there. That's why our personal righteousness must be uprooted. Um, it's this idea of picking up your cross daily and going. It's going and making disciples of all nations. It's something that um, selfishly as humans we don't want to do, but because we follow God, that's what we are called to do. Um, and I think we find this theme in the Bible everywhere. It's all learning after being raised in a Christian household and learning about certain things. It's you may you. I remember that moment I had that realization of this really isn't my life anymore. In the best way possible. I'm living a life for God. I'm a kingdom worker. I want to do work for the kingdom. I want to build His kingdom. And I think this is kind of what it's talking about right here. We need to put to the side our own personal ideas, our own personal righteousness. We need to uproot those and plant this new seed of God's righteousness um, in this. I also really like when it says, therefore we must come to know this righteousness, what is utterly external and foreign to us. Um, that was a sentence up above it, but it is external and it's foreign. It's something that we don't really understand. We don't have a full grasp on it. We don't have 100% clear answer of what it is, um, and it's not familiar to us. We aren't um, born with this idea of God's righteousness in our head. It's something that we have to adopt into our hearts and then put into our lives. And I think it's just, again, we see this theme throughout Scripture. And one of the things that my church that I go to, Central, really upholds a lot, and it's actually in our logo. It's pick up your cross daily. Um, that phrase right there in our logo is a cross tilted on its side, representing that we need to pick that up daily and go and make disciples and do the work of God and continue to build His kingdom. And I think that's kind of what this is talking about right here. It's again that idea of putting aside our own selfish nature, which again is very hard and it's not something that is comes naturally. But putting that aside and adopting this foreign righteousness um, from our heavenly Creator, and then implementing that into our lives. Um, I just again, this is why I think this is the one that's most biblical. The other ones were great. I loved reading them, but like the last one, what was it? Castleman, that one, it's um, I was after reading just it made sense to the Jewish religion at that time, and we read it now and it makes sense. But again, it was catered towards the Jews and the Jewish people of that century, so it's not really applying to this time frame. But when we read that Martin Luther one, it's something that's a little more recent, a little more I don't want to say up to date, but it's a little. I think it applies to the society that we're living in today, and those ideas that we have in our society. Um, but yeah, those are some of my thoughts. Again, very excited to read Romans. I'm excited to hear what everyone else has to say about this. And yeah, glad we're back in school and working after the new year. Again, hope everyone had an awesome holiday and see ya.